Good morning. Hey, it's great to have everyone here this morning. Y'all are looking mighty fine, mighty fine. All right. How about our opening congregational song, Dr. Jean?
It's in the white songbook addendum, Lead with Love. And remember, they're alphabetized, so L, Lead with Love. And I'm kind of trying to get us to learn this song.
How to get your blood going just a little bit more than it was a few minutes ago. Thank you, Jean. And thank you, Chorus. Thank you, E-Chorus. It's wonderful to have you here this morning at the first existentialist congregation of Atlanta. My name is Reverend Marcia Mitchell. I am the fellowship minister here at First Existentialist. I've been a member here since 1980 and have known almost, I think I know everybody here, and incredibly grateful for the fact that this place exists and that we have this wonderful sanctuary in which to come and be together. We are a spiritual community, philosophically based on existentialist and feminist principles, dedicated to human liberation and protection of the natural world. We make our spiritual home here in the old stone church that was built over 100 years ago by the African American Antioch East Baptist Church. We acknowledge that racial hostility drove those African Americans from this area. We honor them and the powerful history of this place. We also acknowledge that in the 1800s, the Muscogee Creek people were driven from this land, and we support justice for all indigenous people. I hope as I've said those words that you listened to what the words were and acknowledge the fact that this place was built by African Americans who lived in this community, who loved this land, and they were forced out of this land, this area, because of racial injustice. And even before that, the Muscogee Creek people who lived on this land, who loved this land, were forced away again because of racial injustice. It hasn't ended. We need to keep our eyes open and alert and do what we can in any way that we can when we see racial injustice. Following the theme of today about becoming an artist, don't think about making art, just get it done. Let everyone else decide if it's good or bad, whether they love it or hate it. While they are deciding, make even more art. That was Andy Warhol. If anyone has a community announcement, if you would write it down. There's paper and pencils on the back of on the table right here in the back. If you have a community announcement, please write it down and bring it up to me, and I'll read them a little bit later on in the service so that we can know what all is going on in our community and invite everyone to be able to participate. How about newcomers, or those that haven't been around in a while? Do we have any newcomers or others, if you would like to, we would love for you to stand, give us your name, and let us know how you came to be here. Okie dokie. Nobody? All right.
There's one.
I hope. Oh.
My wife is shy, she's back here, and she hasn't been here before, but that's my wife over there.
Well, it's great to have you. Oh, it's wonderful to have everyone this morning. You know, I want to, I always think how important it is to acknowledge the fact that you made the choice to get up this morning. That was the first thing. That was good. And then you got dressed. That's also very important. But then you made the big choice to come here and to be with us this morning. And I'm very grateful for that. It's wonderful to have you. How about birthdays and anniversaries? Who do we have that has a birthday or an anniversary? Let's see. Anybody? Birthday, anniversary? No? You got an anniversary?
It's my birthday. The 26th.
Well, get up there. Well, you don't have, I don't mean to say you have to get up here. You can choose to get up here. Or not.
Neither there. I kind of forgot how old I was.
Yes, but I can't see. Is that Peter?
Yeah.
Peter Prince.
How old are you?
Oh, yeah.
I was 69.
All right.
La 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 to Peter. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Peter. Happy birthday to you.
A lot of years.
Okay. So, how about another congregational song?
Excellent. The next one is in the white addendum songbook. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. So that's under S. And we won't do the thing that says chorus at the end of it. Ignore that. And for the third verse, let's sing Sometimes I Feel Like a Bird in the Sky, okay? So, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Rise, God, your spirit is your willing and able. This has a groove, you all, so let yourself get in the groove.
Like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child.
Yesterday was Holocaust Remembrance Day. I think it's very important that we never forget history, the atrocities, the inhumanity that occurred during the Holocaust. Let us think about those that survived, those that did not. There's a very small, relatively small number of survivors still today. I saw an article about one of them who lives in England, and her grandson has begun to, and together they wrote a book, because there are still, what was the statistic? I think it was something like 1 in 5 young people don't believe that the Holocaust happened. That is just beyond my imagination, that anyone is living in an environment where they are being taught. And that's how it has to happen. That somebody is telling them it didn't happen. We cannot let that go. We cannot let that be the reality, because the Holocaust did happen. I hope that if you have the opportunity to visit the museum here in Atlanta, that you'll do that, if you can. But please, as we do, go into our silent meditation. If you think about those that were in the Holocaust itself, those that survived it, and what is currently going on around this world in terms of anti-Semitism. Did we have any community announcements? No one passed any up to me, so we don't have any. Well, I guess you're just going to have to go out there and find your own community activity.
Oh, here's one.
Yes.
We have a friend, Lauren Gunderson, who was contemporary of our daughter Sarah. She's a playwright. And if you haven't heard of her, because she does small plays, but a few years ago, she was the most performed playwright in the United States.
Wow.
The Georgia State University players are going to do one of her plays, which is called Night Sky. Her themes are about feminism and the suppression of the women's right to choose. This is about a woman, historical, who was great in astronomy. It's a great play. It's going to be like in February 8th through 28th out at Perimeter College. And if you want to, look it up.
What's her name?
Lauren Gunderson.
That would be something
Excuse me, Silent Sky.
that perhaps, Sarah, you could check into and put that in our e-blast, so that we could have the opportunity to follow up on that. Thank you.
Whenever one of our plays is performed, we go see it.
Great. Yeah, Atlanta's a place where there's, we are so lucky to be in an environment here in Atlanta where we have the opportunity to take advantage of so many wonderful plays and other type of artistry. So I hope that you will follow up if you're interested. Now is a time of silence. This is an opportunity for you to sit quietly, to pray, to meditate, to be with your brothers and sisters. We have candles on either side of the sanctuary. We'll go within 3 or 4 minutes, and I'll ring the chimes to bring us back together. We have a belated announcement. If you would go back, if you get the AJC, or go back and look, in the letters to the editor, there was a letter to the editor by Chris Mosel, who has been a speaker here, and that was on Thursday, and then Sanjay on Friday. And so I hope that you will go back and look those up, and if we could even, I'm sure that at least with yours, Sanjay, that we could even get, if you were interested, we could even get yours in the e-blast, to let people know, what you had to say. I think it's important for us to put out there, and not everybody gets their things in the AJC, so look it up. Whether you succeed or not is irrelevant. There is no such thing. Making your unknown known is the important thing. That was Georgia O'Keeffe. I got another congregational song.
Yes, this one is also in the white addendum songbook. You've got to be carefully taught. You, why? This song is entitled Breathe It to the Fire. And some of you have heard me play this before, so if you get moved to start singing, please do. About rituals and visions and energy. She tells me when I'm feeling done, go outside, get in the sun, feel Mother Earth
you, Jean. We're very fortunate today to have someone who has spoken here before and has participated in some of our artistic events as well. Kodac Harrison, as you know, is both a musician and a poet. He has 19 albums. He has a book called The Turtle in the Moon. I'm very fortunate to have a copy. He has traveled around the country. He's traveled across the world, involving his music and his poetry. I had to look up. It said that you won a Atlanta Moth Slam. I have to admit, I had never heard of a Moth Slam, so I had to look it up. But a Moth Slam is where people talk about have 5 minutes to provide a story, and then there's at the end of the evening somebody is selected, and he won the Moth Slam. So about his dog. He can talk about, obviously, just about anything, I would imagine. Anyway, he's earned his MBA at Tulane. He has been in the Army. Like I said, he's been around the world. And most importantly, he is here today to tell us about becoming an artist. Please welcome Kodac Harrison.
I believe I'm just going to stay down here. Level you. So, the first time I spoke from down here, and that seemed to work. The second time I had to read some, so I spoke from up there, and I'm back down here because I'm not going to read anything today. She mentioned the Moth Slam. Last fall, I was involved in the championship slam. You had to win a monthly slam in order to get into the championship slam. And so I was supposed to be here in December, and I was going to basically expand on that story. And that's pretty much what I'm going to do today. In Moth Slam, you have to tell a story within 5 or 6 minutes. I got a little more time here today, so I'll expand upon that a little bit. I had this cough, and I warned him. I said, I don't know if I'll be able to make it on Sunday, but I hope again, because I want to do it. Friday and Saturday before that Sunday, I was up all night coughing, and my wife took me to the doctor on Sunday instead of coming here. I didn't want to bring my cough here. So I'm sorry I had to cancel on such short notice, but I felt like that was the thing to do. And I'm glad to have a second chance to come back and speak to everybody. The Moth Slam, they give you a theme, and you're supposed to write a story around the theme. You can't repeat stories that you've done before, such as the one I won with. That was a good story, and I won. I didn't really have a good story. I didn't expect to win, but I was really pleased to participate. You have 5 to 6 minutes, like I said. I got a little more time today. The theme was a big break. And I start right out and I say, I got my big break when I was born. And that's true to some degree. In the meantime, I was born in 1949. So I experienced the 50s and the 60s, and most participate in this Moth Slam, the judges, the audience, and this special coach that called each one of us from New York to help us out. They didn't experience any of that. And it's kind of like the old grandpa Zeller story here, you know. Used to walk to school 5 or 6, we didn't want to hear that stuff. And now I saw on Facebook the other day a joke said that we had to walk 10, 12 steps through shag carpet in order to change the channel on the TV. I like that. But anyway, so he said, well, don't put anything about race in there, don't put anything about privilege, white privilege. And I was like, good gosh, you're taking all the good stuff out. But they don't want to hear that stuff, you know. I didn't do so well in that. I felt like my presentation was good, but as far as my story, it wasn't so good. This country, and having experienced the 50s and the 60s, I know that, and studied history, I know that this country has made great progress over the years, but it's been a struggle. And a lot of times it's taken a lot of time. For instance, when this country was started, it was built around the premise of white male privilege. And you had to be a property owner to even vote. Women didn't vote, people of color didn't vote, only white males who owned property voted. Well, it took years for that to change. Women finally got to vote, I think it was in the last century, early part of it. People of color were brought over as slaves, and after the Civil War, they got to vote for a short period of time during Reconstruction, but then there was a backlash, and Jim Crow came involved. And that lasted for 100 years. In the 60s, we finally started having some civil rights, but then there's some backlashes to that. It seems like there's a backlash to everything. When Obama was president, pretty soon we had a backlash. It's a struggle. A lot of people sacrifice. I was born in Jackson, Georgia, which is a small town, a small southern town, located halfway between Atlanta and Macon. I always say my influences are between Atlanta and Macon. Jackson was a totally small, totally segregated little town. I wasn't born in Jackson. I was born in Griffin because they didn't have a hospital in Jackson. But I only spent one night in Griffin, and I lived for the next 18 years in the same house in Jackson. In those days, there were very few opportunities for women in Jackson. There were no female lawyers, there were no female doctors, there were no female politicians, there were no female bankers. If you were an educated female, then maybe you'd be a nurse or a school teacher. As a result, I was somewhat privileged because of my white male privilege to be taught by some of the top women in town. There were very few opportunities for women of color. As a result, we had a maid. You don't have to be rich to have a maid in those days. Everybody seemed to have a maid. Susie Evans worked for my mother and with my mother for 35 years. From the year before I was born until she died. She was an angel. She's the only person of color that I had any contact with until I was a senior in high school. People of color lived in the ghetto. Well, we didn't call it that. Color town. We didn't go there, they didn't come out. We never saw them. Susie was an angel, so I'm so happy that my one contact with a person of color was this wonderful woman. It was like she was a second mother. My father died when I was 9 years old. My mother didn't remarry for another 10 years. During that 10 years, Susie helped keep our family together. My mother was a school teacher. She had to travel to Macon, so it was about 100 miles round trip during the summer times in order to get her master's in education, so she could make the same thing as men who had only a bachelor's, but who were heads of households. Well, my mother was head of the household, but no, she wasn't allowed to do that unless she got this extra degree. Now, things have changed. There's been progress made, but like I said, it's a slow progress. When I was in high school, I bought my first album. And boys, men in small southern towns didn't buy albums, didn't dance, do anything that was considered sissy. Now, so I bought a Rolling Stones album. That was okay. As opposed to a Beatles album or something. And of course, I like to dance, so I got to take some of the older girls, senior girls, to dances. You know, we split up when we got there, but because I like to dance. So I brought a few of the norms there. And I went to my first concert in Macon to see Otis Redding. We got there early, we were right down front. We didn't realize in those days that even the audiences at concerts, this was my very first concert, were segregated. The white folks sat up in the balcony. After that, first time, when I went to see James Brown and Wilson Pickett, we sat up in the balcony. And, but Otis got to me. I had these pent-up emotions. My father had died when I was 9, and I needed a way to express those emotions. And I looked up there, and Otis was doing exactly that, and people loved it. People were cheering. I was like, ooh. I think inside I thought, that's what I want to do. But I didn't know how to do that at that time. So, I worked in textile mills when I wasn't playing football after school in the summertime. Jackson was pretty much a textile town in those days. Most of the mills were closed down there. But I went to Georgia Tech on a scholarship, predicated on the fact that I majored in textiles. Now, textiles is somewhat an obsolete industry in the South. But, you know, I thought, okay, good, I don't know what I want to do. But that sounds good. And really, they didn't offer this scholarship in the black high school. So I feel like this was kind of like affirmative action for white males. Because anyway, I don't know about that. But I got a scholarship at Georgia Tech when I was a freshman at Tech. Martin Luther King was assassinated. That kind of shook me up. You know, I never paid much attention to race and things like that. I had very little exposure growing up in Jackson, and that made me think, well, why would somebody want to kill me? And I graduated from Georgia Tech, and in 1971. Meantime, my mother had remarried while I was in college, and my stepfather, he was in World War II in Italy and in North Africa, and he had experienced war. He didn't want me to go to Vietnam, and I didn't want to go to Vietnam either. And but because I had a low lottery number, I stayed in ROTC at Georgia Tech, and so I still had to serve. But this would put it off. She said, I'll send you to grad school anywhere you want to go. I thought, New Orleans, because of all the music and jazz, it's just all the art, and that's where I want to go. So I went to New Orleans. I went there trying to be what other people wanted me to be, and I left New Orleans trying to be what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an artist. New Orleans will do that to you. It'll change you. It changed me. But I still had to go into the Army, and I'd only started playing guitar as a senior at Tech. I didn't know how I was going to do this art thing, but I made a commitment while I was in New Orleans to be an artist of some sort, a musician, an artist of some sort. Now, I didn't know exactly how I was going to do that. I had met some musicians there, and just kind of soaked up the art and music in New Orleans, and I was given the name Kodac while I was there. It was a nickname first. It became a stage name. It became a legal name because I got all these checks to, like when I've got here, written to Kodac Harrison, and I couldn't cash them. So I added it to my name. I had 4 names. I didn't change my name because my mother she wouldn't have liked that. I didn't, I just wanted to, legalize it, which actually kept me from being sued by the company at that time. That's another story. I won't get into that. But when I left New Orleans, I had 2 years to serve in the Army, and I went to California, and we had gotten out of Vietnam 2 months before I went in, so it worked out perfectly. And I didn't have a problem serving. I just didn't want to go to Vietnam, especially at that point in the war. And so I went to California. After I got out of California, got out of the Army, still in California, I got a gig, my first professional gig, at a place called East of Eden in Salinas, California. Well, I was a huge GrandSLAMback fan because I never had any kind of literature classes, and I had all this education, but it's all technical stuff. And so I felt like I needed to catch up and read. So, and everywhere in Monterey, there were Steinbeck books. So I read Bobby McGee, I kept putting the record back on Salinas. What is he saying? You know, he said in that song, I don't know if you're familiar with me and Bobby McGee, but it was somewhere near Salinas, I let her slip away, was the line. And so here I was in Salinas. I stayed out there for about 10 months after I got out of the Army, before coming back east. I was a professional musician at this time. I came back to Atlanta for a period of time, and then I went to New York City because I felt like, well, you got to go to New York if you want to be an artist, you know. And so I didn't stay there very long because I couldn't figure out a way to make a living. And but I was playing this old mic down in the village, and the host said, "You need to record an album, put together a band and record an album." I'm thinking, I don't know how to do that in New York City, but I could do that in Atlanta. I know musicians. I could come back here, I could find a way to make some money, painting houses, what I was doing in those days. And I came back and put out 3 albums in the 80s. Critics started calling me a poet. I was like, oh no, I'm a songwriter, I'm not a poet, I don't know anything about this world of poetry. I never had a class in poetry. I'd read very little. But critics would call me a poet. Well, come the 90s, I started reciting songs without music, spoken word. So I became a spoken word artist, and I started recording both spoken word and music. I started putting together poetry events such as Java Monkey on Decatur, which is probably the most diverse event, besides maybe some kind of work thing or something, in the whole town. We had diverse in every sense, diverse in terms of age, race, sexual preference, style. It was a very diverse reading, and it really was very successful, I believe, because of that. So here I was, you know, musician, spoken word artist, poet. I was becoming an artist. I also did, I had shows. I did one down at 7 Sages, a theatrical production, and we did in the lobby. We did shows of my abstract art, and I've had several other shows of those. And most recently, last spring, I had a show in Decatur Art Alliance of my photographs. So, you know, I'm trying to find a way to be creative, to be an artist. I was becoming an artist. As I said, my influences were halfway between Atlanta and Macon. I consider Otis Redding my musical hero, the first concert I went to. I came to Atlanta, and Martin Luther King was assassinated. So I took Martin Luther King and I started studying his writings and listened to his speeches, and he became my spoken word philosophical hero. So here where I was, Macon, Otis Redding, Atlanta, Martin Luther King Jr. I wanted to sing with the soul of Otis Redding. I wanted to speak with the power of Martin Luther King Jr. But, as Bruce Hampton said, it's okay to fail if you reach for the impossible. And that's exactly what I was doing. But you got to set your sights high, you know. And I haven't become rich and famous, but I feel like I've been somewhat successful in choosing to be an artist. Now, when I got out of Georgia Tech at Tulane with an MBA, and then was an Army officer for 2 years, I was set up for the corporate world, the world of white privilege. But I decided I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be an artist. Now, I was in my mid-20s at this point. You don't start in your mid-20s, you start when you're a teenager. I was already starting late. The odds of success as an artist, as a musician, are way down the ladder anyway. But I chose that route anyway. Now, I'm proud to say that in America, in the United States, I had the choice of what I wanted to do. I don't think in history of the world, or even now, you don't have that choice. You're born a certain caste. You do what your daddy done, and that's what you do. I had a choice, and I appreciate that ability to choose. So I feel like there's some good things about this country that I'm really proud of, but there's a lot of things that I'm not so proud of. It's been a struggle. Like I said, Martin Luther King was assassinated, and you know, we get a president like Obama, and then we have to deal with the next guy. So it's a rough road, back and forth. It took 100 years after the Civil War for people of color to even get any kind of civil rights. And they had to struggle, they had to sacrifice in order to get there. And like I said, I grew up in a totally segregated society in town. In the 50s and into the 60s, they did integration school when I was a senior. But it wasn't full integration, it was freedom of choice is what they called it. And just a few people came over. We had a couple of black members of the football team when I was a senior. And that was different, that was in 1966. We went to other towns that didn't have, weren't integrated, and they gave us all kind of hell about that. We got to one place and we stepped off the bus and they heckled our team chaplain, who was this young Baptist preacher. We never heard anybody talk to a preacher like that. But I think those two fellows that came over from the safety of their own high school to integrate, those are the champions. They didn't have to do that. If it hadn't been for people like that, if it had been for thousands of people that made those kind of sacrifices, the leaders of the movement could have gotten nowhere. And there were thousands of such. You know, we know people that were involved in different situations in Birmingham or whatnot, but you know, there were just thousands that made that happen. And it was a struggle, and many people sacrificed to make that a reality. I feel like I have become an artist. Like I said, I've found ways to be creative. I chose this route even though the odds of success were slim. But I like the old saying, it's got to be the going, not the getting there. It makes it all worthwhile. And I feel like it's been worthwhile, my journey. I'm going to close out by playing a song for you. Way back in 1988, my band and I were invited to play the King Fest down at the King Center, close to the tomb there. I was very moved by that. I was inspired, and I wrote this song. I recorded it and sent it to the King Center. They wrote me a really nice letter back and invited me to come the next year and play the song, which I did. But I'm going to close out with this song. I actually played at churches and different situations. They asked me to come down and perform the song at the dedication of down at the King Center of a 126-foot mural they did of the civil rights movement. And this is called What Dreams Become Real. And this time of year is anytime it's good to play the song, but especially this time of year with the holiday and all. In fact, back when Turner South existed, they made a video of a spoken word version of this song, and they played it every year, and I was real proud of that. But this is, let me get my tape off. This is entitled What Dreams Become Real. I'm not warmed up, so this could be a little shaky here. Once there were dreams, there was a dreamer. towns and the cities, to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. He told us of a day when all mankind would be free at last. Free at last. In that place where dreams become real. In that place, soul is revealed. Dreams become real. There are those who out of ignorance and hate would destroy the dream. He was shot down in Memphis, down in summertime, but the dream did not die. You can kill the dreamer, but you can't kill the dream. Lives on, lives on, lives on. In that place where dreams become real. In that place, soul is real. And dreams become real. Where dreams become real. Oh, 20 years later, I was watching my TV. I saw the dream personified. I saw some kids interviewed down all an avenue. And I knew the dream was still alive. You could see it in their faces. You could see it shining from their eyes. You could see the way they held themselves. The way they held their heads up high. Dreams alive. In that place where dreams become real. In that place, the soul is real. And dreams become real. When dreams become real, he said, I want to take you. When dreams become real, he said, I want to take you. When dreams are real, when dreams are real, when dreams become real, he said, I want to take you. When dreams are real. a version with a full band, not just me solo, but you, if anybody wants to sing. Thank you very much.
I can tell that's going to be in my head for quite a while. Thank you so much, Kodac. Thank you all for coming today. I'm going to go ahead and give you my closing words, and then we're going to have our final song. The one thing that you have that nobody else has is you. Your voice, your mind, your story, your vision. So write and draw and build and play and dance and live as only you can. That's by Neil Gaiman. So, what is our final song this morning, Dr. Jean?
Our final song is We Let the Love Wash Over Us. We let it be. And it's not in the book. So this has choreography. I wasn't going to do it, but when you said that about dance, I thought, yeah. Okay, so this, whatever. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. Okay? So rise in body and spirit.
Thank you all.